Question E, Cllr Kitcat has asked, Cllr Geoffrey Theobald has responded. Cllr Kitcat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to say I'm quite concerned by Cllr Theobald's response. My colleague Cllr Rufus yesterday met with the Borough Fire Commander, who categorically stated that he had not been consulted on the communal bin scheme. So I wonder if Cllr Theobald will commit to providing all new types of communal bins to East Sussex Fire Authority for testing, because it has not yet been done, and whether he will work with the fire service on the implications of these bins being so close to cars, which could result in a major fire and is of concern to the Borough Commander.
It was no, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, but that's not really good enough. Could I have an answer on whether he will collaborate with the fire authority or give the bins for testing?
I think that's a further question, and you're not entitled to a second supplementary, I'm afraid.
No, it's the same question, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if you'd be so kind.
I suspect the answer might be the same. I'll ask Cllr Theobald for you. Would you like to repeat your answer, Cllr Theobald?
Well, the answer, quite simply, is no, Mr. Mayor. To actually send to East Sussex Fire Brigade and ask them to look at every single bin, the location in every single road, I think makes an absolute nonsense, Mr. Mayor. The answer is explained very carefully here in these 3 paragraphs, and I invite you to reread them, Cllr Kitcat.
Thank you very much. And question K, Cllr Kitcat has asked, Cllr Geoffrey Theobald has responded. Cllr Kitcat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm very disappointed by Cllr Theobald's response in many ways. Firstly, the lack of ambition with regards to recycling, but in regards to my supplementary, why, given that the waste strategy was first promised in 2007, has it been delayed so much that we now have to wait until April 2009 to see sight of it? So, Cllr Theobald, through you, Mr. Mayor, why is it taking so long, and can members be consulted before it's brought to Cabinet in April? Thank you.
The reason, quite frankly, Cllr Kitcat, the answer is that I've been very, very busy. You know, extremely busy. We've had a complete change. You might not have known this, but saving the council taxpayers £1 million a year by changing our rounds and changing our communal bins. That took precedence, Cllr Kitcat. If you read my answer, and you don't seem to read my answers, I actually tell you there, this will be set out in the waste strategy. The first draft will be brought to the Cabinet in April. I'm telling you that, Cllr Kitcat. So, you know, why you can't seem to read, I don't understand. So it will be, and I also say that residents will be consulted on the proposals, as you will be.
Thank you, I think. Cllr Fryer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm glad to hear that we're saving £1 million. It's quite easy to do that if you don't collect people's rubbish. And I'm glad to see there are plans to improve recycling rates, but I don't quite see how that correlates with no plans to implement communal recycling. So my question is particularly around the St James Street area. I don't know if Cllr Theobald is aware, but many residents of St James's Street don't live somewhere where they can have doorstep recycling collections, and there's a woeful lack of recycling bins in that area. So basically it's not possible for residents of St James's Street to recycle unless they walk about half a mile, which I think most of us realistically know most people will not do. So I hope that, my question is, will he be able to investigate that as a possibility to bring forward? Thank you.
Cllr Theobald.
We're quite prepared to take on board all suggestions that are made, and I would advise or ask members at times, instead of asking me questions at council meetings here, to actually consult officers, actually contact officers, put your views across. You'll then get your answers, you know, rather than keep coming to me at council meetings. I know why you do it, to get answers here.
That's why the public come to me.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Cllr Theobald, for your response. Councillor Theobald may or may not know that in Regency Ward, these 3 communications regarding changes to schedules and recycling and the introduction of communal bins were all received in the space of less than 1 month. Would the money not have been better spent in just one single communication, reducing the cost to perhaps some £30,000? And is it not the case that perhaps if the waste strategy had been ready, you would have realised the need for these 3 communications and been able to plan ahead and so save £60,000 of taxpayer money?
I don't think so. I know you're very keen in communal bins. And frankly, I would have thought that you would have been congratulating us, for communicating, for telling people, for advising people. And you know as well as I do that if you put 3 communications through, then people are more likely to take notice of it if you just put 1. But we do have a professional communications team at this council, and these sorts of matters are put to them, we take their advice, and they put them out. £98,000, and I've already said to you in one of your initial questions, or to one of the others, we are saving something like £1 million a year. Now, frankly, you would be right to criticise me if I wasn't communicating with people. And here I am, you're now criticising me for spending money by trying to advise people. I'm just mystified. I really am. So my answer really, I've given it in a long way, is no. Thank you.
Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Concerning publicity on communal bins, can the Cabinet member confirm that the new communal bins will not have foot pedals, unlike the one pictured in the current issue of CityNews to illustrate their introduction, where a foot pedal is being used?
Councillor Theobald.
Yeah, I think people do understand how to use them. They don't necessarily have the pedals at the bottom, but they have a flap at the top, so they can be used.
Right, Councillor Q, Councillor Kitcat has asked, Councillor Theobald has responded, Councillor Kitcat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, repeating what Councillor Theobald just said, communal bins are generally easy to use, he says, yet I have had numerous phone calls and emails from people finding them very difficult to use because they do not have the foot pedal, they are particularly high, and there is no support for the metal lid when it is lifted and it doesn't stay open. So people find it very difficult to use, and if you walk through Regency Ward, you'll find most of the flaps stuck open, people unable to close them. I recently had, in fact, yesterday, 2 elderly ladies in my ward call me. They've waited 2 and 4 weeks and have still not received the assisted collection promised, and we're very worried. I'm grateful to the Director of Environment for following this up, and something I'm told will be done very shortly. But who did Councillor Theobald consult before agreeing the removal of foot pedals from this new model of bin, which has been procured by his department and have made these bins so much harder to use? Is he also aware that, in addition to being harder to use for so many people, these metal lids slam shut, making significant noise, waking children and other sleeping people in the evening? Thank you.
Councillor Theobald.
Actually, what is interesting, Mr. Mayor, is that Councillor Kitcat's original question was about assisted waste collection service. So presumably, and I've answered that question, so presumably those people having an assisted waste collection service wouldn't be using these bins because they would be assisted. So really, I'm surprised, Mr. Mayor, that you didn't rule that out of order. But having said all that, my answer to your point is that we have trialled these various bins. We've actually consulted residents, and residents in the main prefer the ones that we are now putting out. We constantly consult residents. We like to get what their views are and how easy they find them to use. So we've trialled them, and these are the ones that are preferred.
Yes, Councillor Kitcat.
The point of information perhaps is that these new model of bins were not trialled whatsoever. They are brand new and have not been trialled in the city whatsoever. And so my question was, who had been consulted on this new model of bin, not the old foot pedal one, the new one without a foot pedal? Thank you.
I think it's certainly wanted some clarification on the point of order. Councillor Theobald.
You see, Councillor Kitcat may prefer the pedal when he uses them, but the fact of the matter is that we have trialled these in areas, and the view of the public is they prefer the ones that we're now putting out. You can't...
Thank you very much indeed. Right.